Yeah, I'm gonna jump.
We're working on it, or we're good?
It's almost there. Okay, you're good.
All right, we're gonna call to order board meeting for the Pleasant Hill School District, Monday, February 26th, 2024. We begin each board meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Then would you mind reading our mission statement?
Sure.
Thank you.
Our mission to graduate all students with high levels of academic and personal achievement, ready for post-secondary excellence, prepared for productive, compassionate citizenship through research-based instruction and collaborative system support.
Thank you very much. 2.0 changes or additions to the agenda. 3.0 introductions and attendance. We have nobody in the audience, but I'd still like to have our admin team introduce themselves. Go ahead, Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah Stoneberg, elementary principal.
Whitney Conlon, special education director. Chris Garden, high school principal.
Caleb Song, those spaces.
Thank you. 4.0 public forum. Individuals who are on site during this portion of the board meeting, members of the public are specifically invited to present items of commendation and or concerns. At the discretion of the board chair, further public participation may be allowed at the time specific agenda items are under consideration by the board under district policy BDDH. Individuals who are viewing online, and the school district posts the upcoming agenda on our website, pleasanthill.k12.or.us, the Friday before regularly scheduled Monday school board meetings. This will allow for public comment prior to the board meeting. Please click on the tab provided to share your comments for the school board to consider at the upcoming meeting. Personnel matters may not be discussed in public at a school board meeting. Members of the public who have personnel concerns or commendations should share them directly with the district superintendent, Mr. Christ. 5.0 presentations and recognition. 5.1 classified appreciation resolution for week of March 4 through 8, 2024. This is resolution 2324.91. I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. What's that?
You got it tonight.
I mean, it says at the bottom I'm going to be signing it, so I figured I should read it. Classified Employee Appreciation Week. Celebrated every year during the first full week of March. In 2024, it will be observed March 4 through 8 in Oregon. Resolution is whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pleasant Hill School District Board of Directors proclaims March 4 through 8, 2024 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Pleasant Hill School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. Adopted this 26th day, February 2024. Action items. 6.1 consent agenda. I'll hear motions to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. 6.2, policy ECAC, video surveillance, first read.
So in front of you, we've got, video surveillance, policy CAC. And it will be presented to you for first read. The board authorized the use of video cameras on district property to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of all staff, students, and visitors to district property, and to safeguard district facilities and equipment. Video cameras may be used in locations as deemed appropriate by the superintendent. The district shall notify staff and students through student, parent, staff handbooks that video surveillance may occur on district property. Students or staff in violation of board policies, administrative regulations, building rules, or laws shall be subject to appropriate disciplinary actions. Others may be referred to law enforcement. A video recording may become a part of a student's educational record or a staff member's personnel record. The district shall comply with all applicable state and federal laws related to the record to record the means and its retention. Just recommend the board directly review the following board policies as a first reading. Practice has been to make a motion to approve the first reading.
Okay. I will hear motions.
I'll move to approve policy ECAC, video surveillance as a first reading.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. 6.3, approved seismic rehabilitation grant proposal.
So last school year, I should start with this. So during this current school year, we utilized a $25,000 technical assistance program grant from the state. And that was from the 22-23 school year. Worked with WRK Structural and Seismic Engineers. They conducted an assessment of all of our district facilities, reviewed our plans of all those facilities, and from that determined that our main gym at the high school was a basically a good candidate for the Oregon Seismic Rehabilitation Grant, and that the age of the structure, the type of building that they used back when it was built, and then the amount of use that it gets used with not only students but also community, and the possibility that in the catastrophic event that space could be used for community shelter. So through that, then WRK, as part of this the TAP grant of $25,000, developed what you have here in front of you. And this is just a small portion of it. We pulled out an application seeking funds from the state in the amount of $2,499,940 to improve the structural integrity of the 18,600 square foot main high school gymnasium that was constructed in 1961 before seismic standards were codified. The intent of the project is to improve the structural integrity to engineering specifications that meet performance objectives. That's BSE 1E and BSE 2E, as noted on page 19 of the grant application. The main gymnasium serves the community for many events, and in the event of an earthquake, could likely become a place of shelter for the community. There are no foreseen future obligations, expectations, or encumbrances when this grant is approved. Project timeline that we'll be looking at. So June 1st, 2024 to June 30th is when they go through the grant award announcements. Beginning July 1st to August 31st is notice to proceed, select a design consultant. Starting September 15th to November 30th, we start the rehabilitation design process. Continue that process through December 1st and January 31st of 2025. Finalize the design between February 1st to April 30th of 25. Start construction May of 25 to 8/31 of 25, and then finalize construction by September 1st, December 15th, and the project close out will be at the 30th of September. Cost summary down below, engineering is estimated at $341,991. Construction and management at $47,999. Construction costs, $1,716,626. The relocations, which are being able to move equipment out. There's some other pieces there as well, $59,999. Contingency fees of $333,325 for the total cost estimate, $2,499,940. So for our policies, where it's being recommended that the board of directors accept the seismic rehabilitation grant application as presented.
Expect there to be any significant changes to the overall. To the building and. Like obvious ones,
There,
more curious than anything.
and I think a lot of that would happen during the design process. There's the footings of where the arches come down is where a lot of that needs to happen, and the cross bracing between the footings. I can tell you the design right now actually has the roof coming off and then redoing plywood sheeting on top of that to increase the structural integrity of putting a new roof on. We don't need a new roof. I forget the date, but there was just a roof put on there. I think it was 2018. So if we changed that and they said they could plywood on the inside, then I think you would start to see some changes as far as the look. Because right now it's got the kind of slatted wood look to it. So the overall design of the dome shape will not change. There's also opportunities when we do these projects that if we have funds available, this would be a time to do some floor abatement in the canteen area to get rid of some of the asbestos flooring, to upgrade the doors, the other entry areas. There'd be some opportunities to actually either cut back on costs, like not doing the roof, for instance, do the plywood sheeting on the inside and some of those funds, or have district funds available to do some other projects like the floor doors. Most of it's all structural.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this is an application, so there's a chance that we won't get it?
Correct.
Are we still planning to do the upgrade without it?
Not without, I guess we'd have to discuss going for a bond at that point in time.
Did the estimate? The same group?
The WRK engineers, yeah. This is work that they do on a regular basis and actually do the application process before with the state of Oregon for this particular grant.
It's a huge contingency, or, if they're bothered by that at all, the grant applicant, they must not be there with it.
Yeah, and I don't, my anticipation of looking at this is while they can foresee construction costs and have been through it enough to know in general, the amount of time that it goes from when they begin writing the grant until it's actually rewarded.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a lot of choice other than to be safe.
Is it a competitive situation, for the grant amount? Is there X amount? We're asking for 10% of it, or is it
For
the grant itself?
for the grant itself, it is a competitive grant in the state of Oregon. Yeah, so as they go through the process, we worked with them on filling out how much the facility is used, what type of use it gets. Part of that then is also the engineers go in and talk about the age of the facility, the type of construction that's at, and through that, they develop basically prior to this, that'll go forward. There's not always been, my understanding in the last few years, a lot of these grants that have actually been applied for. And so they felt like this was the best shot at it. Yeah. So Blue Gym is another one with construction. Is the type of construction that generally would meet the grant requirements. It doesn't get quite the use that the main gym does, so we should.
Any sports displaced during construction? Probably not.
We do have some summer activities like summer basketball, the oxygen really easily, yeah. But the timeline of it, is such that it would happen, late spring and then over the summer.
I will move to approve the size of the rehabilitation grant application resolution 2324.96.
I'll second. Moved and seconded, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye, passes unanimously. How long before we get a response, do you think?
It is, award announcement month of June.
Okay.
June. And down the road, if you want to discuss grant opportunity, there's also a lot of awesomeness.
Awesome.
There's awesome, yes, the matching funds as well, so with Crestwell's grant, they've got like an additional $2.5 million in awesome funds to match. So you can take these grants and put them together as well.
And Jim, isn't there 55 million total for total schools in this grant?
Yeah. 55. Each year they appropriated, this was a good year for grants.
All right, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
6.4 approved 2024-25 academic calendar.
So what we have in front of you here, if you want to jump to 16, 17, page 18, you'll actually see a copy of the calendar. If you want to follow along, page 16 and 17, we got notes for you, but relevant points are calendar represents the best efforts of the district, collaborated with staff associations, represents meeting the collective bargaining requirements or the Department of Education requirements, while also attaining the professional development needs of the district and staff in a manner that is thoughtful of holiday and extended breaks in relation to our community. So then we've got one day on February 17th. I think what I've learned this year with our school closure. So we have between 1 and 4 days in this school for the weather is prior to February 17th, which is the float day. That float day can be added or meet minimum instructional hours required by the state. Any additional days that are beyond again, what I learned from this year about 4 will most likely require that we meet again and have days to the end of the school year as required minimum instructional hours. First week of school. So school, we're anticipating this calendar start on September 4th for grades 1 through 5, grades 6 and 9 to assist in supporting the transition of 6th and 9th grade students to a new school level, and September 5th for all grades, including 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12. To support a smooth transition to school, kindergarten students will have a special schedule the first week. Kindergartners will begin school year on the staggered start schedule with half attending on September 4th, half the other half on September 5th. Friday, September 6th would be a no school day for kindergartners, which supports the teacher development class rosters, and then all kindergarten students would resume school on September 9th. Early release for all grades. District is designated early release days for professional collaboration. Collaboration time to allow staff to work together and plan the best ways to support individual students without requiring additional school days. This collaboration time is key to allowing schools to build networks of support that can help all students achieve their vision. There are 32 early release days identified on the building calendar for all grade levels, with 8 being identified as district directed, 11 being building directed, and 13 being teacher directed. Other key dates: winter break is December 23rd, 2024 through January 3rd, 2025. Spring break, March 24th of 2025 to March 28th of 2025. And graduation for the class of 2025 is Friday, June 6th. Last day of students would be June 11th. There are 175 contact days, including the release days for collaboration. And then all of the schools will be on a semester calendar. The June 11th is the last day for students, the June 12th will be the last day for the teachers. And the anticipation that we had another event like this year, we have to add more day. That presents us an opportunity where we can have the 12th and the 13th, and likely we're gonna have to bring them back on the 16th. That week. Questions?
Just because I'm curious, what does it mean that 8 days are district directed, 11 building directed, and 13 teacher directed?
So when we did the last negotiation session, we defined what the focus would be and being able to identify things. But how the dates are to be used in determining around district events. And so for us, it's the district, this year, for instance, I used a lot of days around teacher preparation for their evaluation, running the goals, meeting with administrative staff to go over the goals of the mid-year. Buildings can use it for building directed professional development and through the collaboration process that we talked about in the PLCs, so those teacher directed days. Is the idea behind it. The amount of days that are provided and how they're split up, I've done it as equally as possible with, say, for instance, a March 21st, man as a teacher day, knowing that it's the week before spring break. And so we're having some intentionality around that. And then also in the collective bargaining agreement, there's language around, for instance, if you have like in the month of May, there are 5, there's in that type of month, there's a certain amount. The language dictates that will go towards the teachers as an example. So many of those, I think it's 3, 2, 1, or 3, 1, and 1. The way they're split up. So part of that's calendar driven, part of that is driven around how many days there are in a month. And then also just where our focus is the picture.
What was the thought behind eliminating? Cause I just looked back at the current district calendar and there was 4 float days for emergency closure. What was the thought there?
That was
Don't
it.
take my.
Yeah. So when we built last year's, I basically took the previous years and carried it over. And not paying a lot of attention to collective bargaining agreement at that point in time. The 3 other days besides the February 1 were all connected to teacher vacancies. My understanding is that it was just a verbal agreement that if we had to add back, that the association was okay to adding back on a teacher grade day, which would be a violation of our collective bargaining. Okay. But grading days are important. We recognize they're important. We recognize the professionalism that goes with teachers and being able to put together progress reports, and we want to maintain that.
I've never would have noticed if we hadn't had this ice cream.
One of the bigger differences is October 11th. I think in some of the past calendars is that Friday in October is generally a statewide in-service. Statewide in-services over the years kind of just diminished a little bit. One of the thoughts and one of the calendars had October 11th as a non-contract day, which meant that then we could get out of the 12th last day for teachers the 13th. For me, there's going to be a lot of weeks up front. I think building in routines and structures for kids and having non-interrupted weeks as much as possible in the early part of the year, I think is beneficial. And then if we need to utilize some days in June, without, last day right now is on the 11th for kids. If we have back some days because of and whether we'll have the 12th or 13th of June to look at that. Not disrupt. Perhaps some answer. Perhaps. Good, then. Calendar got it in front of you, but it's not-
Trustee, any questions or concerns? Okay. I move to approve 2024-25 academic calendar, resolution 2324.97.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. So it's to 7.0, 7.4 discussion, 7.1 engagement and motivation.
So on page 19 in your packet, which you've got in front of you, is just a one page that I put together that will kind of outlines the next few board meetings and discussion items. But what we're looking at over the next few meetings would be discussion around types of motivation, relationships between student engagement and motivation, social emotional learning, and then trauma-informed practices. And I put these things together to just get an idea of and illustrate the complexity of teaching and learning. As these concepts, they cross different pedagogical levels as illustrated. You go to the next page after that, you'll see what it's called map of pedagogical knowledge. But anyway, as they cross different levels in that pyramid. So that pyramid is actually developed by a guy named John Sapir, Research for Better Teaching, RBT, we refer to it often as the Red Book of Teaching. The items at the bottom, right in the red, we talk about the foundation of essential beliefs. Just up from that is all management type of items around physical space, time, routines of students, classroom discipline, matter retention. Next level is instructional strategies. Just above that, we start getting into less concrete around teaching, so we're getting into motivation, and then the top of the pyramid is all around good planning. So tonight what I've got for you is article on incentives, and it's by an author named Daniel Pink. And he talks about the two types of motivation. And this was an article that I've used with my staff in the past and has come up. So what we saw, I think, in like historically in education was, this goes way back to, heard of PBIS or PBS years and years ago. It was originally started out as EBS, Effective Behavior Systems. Through that, then they eventually had a statewide conference where schools would get together and share their PBS or PBIS practices. And out of that, we started seeing incentives come up more and more, and this kind of token type of economies out of that. And we got really heavy into the practice of applying an incentive for a student to be able to do a task. And really didn't take much time to pay attention to any of the research that came out. Some of it is as early as the 1960s and 70s, and that just kind of got buried over time. So anyway, what Daniel did in his book is really kind of bring back some of that early research around intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and to bring that up. So I brought that in front of you for discussion tonight. In that, there's also, he discusses some kind of a business related concept, but it's called the principal agent theory, which basically explores again the complexities of aligning information and interest between principals. So we think of the principals as being the employer, teacher, or parent, and the agents being the employee, student, or child. And to consider issues, and I think what we're dealing with so often around the situations between the two is, what does the information look like? How was the information delivered? It's there, and they call it asymmetry, but is there symmetry or asymmetry amongst the information that's being delivered, especially across the entire school system? So much easier within a classroom. We just got a single principal and a class that's sitting there. As you then go to 2 classrooms or 3 classrooms, or an elementary level, middle level, or high school level. the information becomes not so symmetrical. Because we all agree in our concepts, our previous learning, previous perceptions, previous knowledge. So some of this is also going to think of it as the work we do as far as bringing symmetry to our information as well. Bring that forward. See. Thoughts?
So somebody who's not familiar with, like the specifics day-to-day job of teaching, obviously, how would this, like, maybe you're not even able to explain it in this setting, but how would this kind of approach affect your lesson planning? Is there a fundamental change to lesson planning?
I would say, gosh, maybe not necessarily like your daily lesson, but in the process of preparing for a lesson. What I often find is it's almost kind of two camps. You've got teachers that have the experience that can almost intuitively know what they want from a lesson because they've done it so much. So they know where the sticking points are within their curriculum. If you're talking like a secondary level, they know where kids are going to struggle. They know when they're going to let kids struggle, and they know how long they're going to let kids struggle before they bring them back together to give the next piece of the puzzle. Kind of get that enlightened moment for them to go on. But whether or not they're going to let them go home and struggle, and when they come back the next day, to then start a class conversation to go through that struggle and bring that struggle. So I think in terms of like, when you think about planning and preparation holistically, in a lesson plan, it is thinking about what you see for your classroom, what kind of feel you want for your classroom, how do you think about and plan for getting what it is you're wanting from the kids. Sometimes that's less about how you run like any other patient system in your class, and more about what your structure looks like, what your demeanor is, how you model what it is from your kids. And I think this really get into, like they talk about in the article, an algorithmic task or heuristic task. So one of them is very set as far as instructions, and they're going to take it down into defining path. And the other one is more around creative experiment and possibilities to complete the task. So as a teacher, if I am, I'm going to back up a little bit and go into, for instance, like the elementary level. If I am returning from a recess and I have pre-taught students what I want them to do, I am going to find every opportunity I can to be able to essentially incentivize, reward them. And I'm going to often do it through a smile on my face, a recognition, Steve, great job, let's keep your hands together. So, Jennifer, you're doing great. And continue to recognize the things that I want to see over and over and over and over again. And not necessarily pay attention to the things I don't want to see. Because what I can do through doing that is get people in line because they're hearing and seeing that's what the teacher wants. Those kids are getting recognized for that and essentially kind of fall in line and follow along. Beyond that, you'll see. So I think that's where some of the planning comes in. But how do you write a lesson plan that, where you detail that? And it's much more about the thinking as far as what it is that I want to see, which going through a good lesson plan is going to think about every single moment during the day, as far as what does it look like when I like at the door? What does it look like when I return? What does it look like when kids walk into my class? Do I want them to hang their coats up? Do I want them to go straight to their desks? What have I taught them as far as when they get to their desk, what are they looking for? Is there a particular area in the room where they can get the clues and see where they're supposed to start for the day? So I have paper on their desk for them before they go. So there's those practices through lesson planning that begin to create a disciplined atmosphere, but not so much, I would say, that incentives and motivation, but that's not to say that there's not motivation and incentive within the planning process. That sort of makes sense. Okay.
Well, I asked because when it talks about autonomy, that's the piece that I was curious how it would necessarily affect lesson planning and allowing for, because I mean, you gotta stick to it, and you've got a whole bunch of kids with you're gonna let them be a little autonomous that are gonna do things at a different rate. And so that's why I was kind of curious how it impacted like traditional, or maybe not even traditional, but lesson planning when you're not looking at teaching through this lens.
So those would be practices where you might, the autonomy may come later down the line, so you might start as a teacher planning for all class or whole group instruction, and then directions to get started on an assignment where the teacher's going to use that work to check for their understanding. And so just, saying, I want you to now all start, problem number one. And then you do a quick check or walk around to see how students are doing at that level, and you quickly determine, okay, you two have got it, yes, okay, keep going. Who doesn't feel comfortable doing this yet? Okay, I want the next, that group, you're gonna have eyes on me. What questions do you have? Okay, now try problem two. And then you get another group separated out that is now ready to go, and you narrow your class down to say 3 or 4 that then you're working with on as an individual basis. Your first 2 kiddos that you maybe started and sent on, they're ready to go. You bring them back into the mix once they're done, and they invite them to serve as a class tutor for students. Okay. So that's what some of the autonomy can start to be built in. Also choice, the difference between, again, this is the lesson planning. It may be where we are all reading the same nonfiction book, and there's no autonomy in the choice of the book. And then you might have other lessons to what the autonomy is built in to say, we're going to do a study around dystopian works, and these are 3 different authors where you can choose from that.
Okay.
This stuff seems so kid specific. And I know some of it, I'm sure isn't, that this quibble a little bit with his business. Some of what he's saying I agree with, some of it I don't. And then you're talking about an employee. There's a set of needs the employee has, and we're working to try to figure out how to meet those needs. So it's very individual. It's never one thing for everybody. And it feels like that absolutely has to be the case with kids, and so maybe more so. I mean,
Definitely, yes. Because we have kids in our system that we think about how much time we have with them during the day. We send them home with a different set of standards, motivations at home that they're learning from. And you come back the next day and you kind of start back over with your own system. But have students that either through disability or environmental factors that don't have them focused to be able to sit down in a classroom and handle whatever instructions they've planned for that day, and are working one-on-one situation or small group to where you're having to give them feedback. It might be on every 30 seconds, it might be on every 15 seconds in order to get them to move forward and actually start making some progress. And then you've got to start to back off some of those incentives. And those are definitely specialized situations. Yeah. I think for this, thinking of the entire just philosophy around, what do we want from a graduate of Lebanon High School? And you're just thinking, our average student, and you start to think about what are the incentives to get a student through, and you start incentivizing what we might consider normal expectations, like you want your child to pick up their room. In some houses, you might be incentivized for that, and in other houses, it could be, that's just a normal expectation. I'm not going to incentivize you to do that. And it's recognizing that once you start to incentivize it, when you say, I will give you this in order to do that. You're starting to say that whatever that is, in the case education, homework, getting good grades, is not desirable. Because if it was desirable, we would incentivize you for it. And that's, I think, it can be a philosophy change for some people that, when I talk about symmetry of information, that we're trying to normalize across the system.
Is this a hot topic?
Yes, it is a little bit. Yeah, because there's some practices that are changing. We'll say, just thought out, in particular at the middle school we've got, and we've gone not necessarily away from, but we are re-examining or exploring like large, or thought of as an incentive or reward field trips, where kids are excluded because they're not meeting certain criteria, and rethinking what that looks like for those students, and start to recognize, or at least talk about what engages the student to want to get a good grade. Is it for the mere fact of being able to go on a trip, or is it about the importance of the learning and the learning process, and the outcome of going through that process? That's true. It is true. We've been dealing with it for almost 30 years now. Yeah. It's worthwhile.
How's that square though, with, at the end of the day, they're still, at least in high school, there's, at the end of the day, the grades is part, at least part of the motivation. Like we still are giving grades out.
And that, you figure most of your students want to attain towards getting the best grade possible. Now, will they do the work that's required every single day to get the best grade possible? Yeah. That amount of kids that will do that, it starts to lessen over time. But for the most part, the majority of our kids are coming to school, they're getting good grades, which means for the most part, they're demonstrating that they are understanding the learning objective and actually showing the teacher, yes, I've learned it over time. We're talking about a smaller group of kids that we're trying to engage and incentivize to jump into the learning process and buy into what the teacher is doing. At the same time, get the teacher to recognize that not every student learns the same. Others take a different engagement, a different style to get them to engage, to actually buy the learning process. It's somewhat at that point in time where you start to look at what is the grade and what is the most important thing in that process. And I can speak for myself, particularly. I I said about the grades. I was not a student that chose some of the other grade. I can tell you what the teacher was teaching. But as far as chasing the grade, it just wasn't important to me as an individual. So there's the whole school as far as we think of it as like tier 1, where every student gets this level. Tier 2 for students who don't assimilate the tier 1 system doesn't work for, with different level of incentives or support systems. And tier 3, we're a little bit more on top of that. So it's that differentiation of being able to understand what each person's at, what engages them, how to start to move them forward in the process. With, I think, in this, what I get out of some of the research is shares with the understanding is what is the most important aspect out of this, and that's getting a student to engage in the learning process and actually show progress, attain to a task over time, progress to a task over time. I think when the rest of you hire somebody in your business, you need somebody who's going to be there on time, day after day after day, that will recognize a job that's not finished and won't just walk away from it, but to finish the job, do a good job, that will recognize that not all jobs are going to be the same day to day to day, some are harder, some not so hard. And it's that process over time, those skills that don't always relate to A, or B, or C, or D. We're also working with staff, our elementary is standards-based grading, so we're having standards-based conversations with the high school staff as well. So discussions around D's and F's, staff will recognize, and we talked about this as well, there's more that goes into what is in that D or that F. And so, as a teacher, or even as a student, or as a parent, when we say that your son or daughter received a C, or your son or daughter received a D, or your son or daughter received an A, it's like, what does that mean? To me, they showed up to class, they turned in their work. Versus if we talk about a standard and say, the last 6 weeks, we have taught these 4 different standards, and here's a rubric that shows you 3 is, or 4 is exceeding, 3 is meeting, and then they can provide a work sample for you that we can demonstrate, yes, they're meeting the standards, they've shown these principles or these objectives in their work that meets that standard. That's much more concrete as far as, I think it's concrete and engaging for a student and a parent as far as attaining towards a learning outcome, an individual grade.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I included there's another article around the motivation engagement, just for you to get on your time. I'd like to have move us to that one, increased engagement motivation for the March 18th meeting, social emotional learning on April 8th, and then April 22nd, look at trauma, and there's it's called adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, in which we can start to, I'm sure you're familiar with these. Yeah. So.
Okay. 8.0 superintendent communication, 8.1 forestry building project update.
Yes. I've got the entire packet in front of you. A lot of it I don't think you'll be able to see. But I think most important, if you're interested, if you're familiar with the forestry building, it is a rectangle. So in the document, it's going to have some structural supports done. If you're familiar with it, it's kind of A-frame. Some of the windows on the outside will need to be removed to be able to increase the structural integrity of the building. There is one large door, and both doors will actually be changed and fitted out. It was important to have a large door to move some equipment in it. It's going to be an egg building. The bathroom that is, if you're looking at the building, is the right front corner. It will be remodeled and made ADA accessible. Eye washing station, sink, oven and stove on the right-hand side, left-hand side. There'll be, Angela does the flowers, so she's got a long refrigerator for the flowers that she does, and then tons of workspace around the perimeter of the space, and workstations for students will be in the middle. It'll be insulated. We'll have an HVAC system put in, electrical outlets put throughout. There'll be a multimedia for screen projector put in for the classroom as well. Should be a relatively quick project. We've done the walkthrough for potential contractors and then received bids last Thursday. We've got an opening process for general contractors. show up for that, and so that we will be ready. I think we'll have us, as part of our next work session, we'll advertise a special meeting. I should be ready by that point in time to actually bring in the contractor to you to approve. To get the project actually run. I would anticipate we should start, earliest would probably be spring break, otherwise I would imagine first of April. But actually, we award the bid, and we'll sit and meet with the contractor, get the dates squared away.
So there were 4 contractors.
We have 4 general contractors, bid,
Is that required no bid, or is there a scoring system,
low bid.
period?
Period, and as you develop a scoring system, as part of the, yes, this is. Very unfortunate. Not good for Chris, do you have knowledge on that as well?
That's not the only thing, it's like, you know, if you can contest that they're a responsive bidder based on previous work, that the scope is outside of their realm, their logo room, they kind of go back on that, and so, but it's pretty tough. You know, you're gonna have to find out what their scope is, who their subcontractor is gonna be, and that all comes in, there's certain tier, on the bid, so.
So the process is when we do the opening of the bids, we read the bid amounts out, we make sure that they follow the documentation process. And then following that, if they did not give us the tier 2, which is subcontractors, they've got a couple hours after that. Tier 2 is at that point in time. Also with this process is each of them have to show that they have the funds to be likely to goes into an escrow, if it's a certain percentage of that. In which case, if you do have like a really low bidder and they decide that they want to stick in to the process, if they're not able to finish it, you have to go find someone else and you have funds available to bridge that gap to get it done.
No bids a mistake, always.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
We probably, we don't have a choice. From a legal perspective.
correct. I will say we've got the 4 that were here are all recognized general contractors from the area. I've been in business for a while. I've got some more work still to do with architect, but I anticipate March 7th being able to have agenda item, just the one action before the work session begins to approve the general contractor. Get going on one of the projects.
In the district decide to create a rating system?
I'd have to look into it to know for sure. Yeah, and I don't even know what that would look like,
Right.
or if it might even deter people from bidding. No, it is a shuffle, no, it is a.
No, all it does is allow you the flexibility to evaluate somebody on something that might be equally as important as the price. Reliability, past experience, change order perspective, which is a huge one. And when you have no flexibility in the bidding process, you eliminate your chance to ferret some of that stuff out. And by the time you select a contractor, you know it backfires. So, I mean, we use this all the time. There's 10 or 12 qualifying features of your bid, and they're not just the price. And that way, the owner can look at the bid perspective and say, well, I see you're the low bid, but here's 7 other things I don't like, and here's why.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's, well, usually it's a problem, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem, it just doesn't offer any flexibility.
I'll research it. Or I'll look into it.
Unitable uses it. OSU, well, I think probably every city Eugene uses it. All of them have that now.
So it's out there, models are out there.
They're already there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to that thought process working for the state. And I can't help but feel that while, like on the initial bid, you're demonstrating fiscal responsibility with community tax dollars. When you look at it, when you zoom out, you look at it from the overall like length, like, from a bigger chunk of time, you may actually not be responsible because you're gonna spending more money than you would have trying to fix something because it's not as high quality or go to work. I know that's so much in my job. It's like being a good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Well, it's like,
Yeah,
we don't have a more of a higher level discussion, more nuanced discussion of what that actually looks like.
and that's really interesting because while it takes longer, and costs more to go through the process that we did as far as hiring an architect, bringing in a structural engineer to do part of it, bringing in an electrical engineer to do part of it. A lot of the specs, like we were talking about, to make sure the work is done to a particular level, is included in the plans. It is in the details. The next piece, I think, on a project like this, where essentially we are serving, I am Virginia is serving as the project manager, is then being able to understand and be on site and follow those to make sure that actually follow. I take the side grant that is big, part of the funds for that is hiring a project manager. To kind of show we see it, this is just not a big enough project. So, but it's important to note that was part of the hiring the architect to make sure that we have the specs.
And we know board communication 9.1 committee or community news announcements. Hearing none, we'll move to 10.0 other business. Okay. 11.0 recess regular meetings to executive session under ORS 192.6602I. Review